I already filmed a bunch of videos on my sketchbook, but today I want to talk more about how I use it functionally in a way that helps you learn and improve your creativity, but also allows you to use it as a part of your art portfolio potentially. On Sunday, I got gifted this lovely sketchbook that my boyfriend got me in Paris. I had to be there, but unfortunately I got sick and I missed the flight, so he brought me back this sketchbook along with other gifts. So I already started using it and I sketched a couple things in the first page, but I also posted a poll on my Instagram asking you guys if you'd like to see more, and you said yes, so here we are. Do you ever feel blocked when you look at the blank page? That is because maybe we have an idea in mind of what we want to sketch, maybe we have a character in mind or an object, but we don't know where to place it in the page. A quote-unquote mistake I always made in my previous sketchbooks was not thinking about a layout. I just kind of started drawing wherever I felt like, and that resulted in me having little blank spaces where I could not fit anything else substantial and the character was just awkwardly placed. This is an example. In the previous sketchbook video, I told you how I think that sketchbooks need to be free and you should use it however you prefer. And of course, I still think that. I think you should do whatever you want with your sketchbook. But this isn't only for an aesthetic purpose. It is actually a way to make the most of the page and avoid wasting space and paper. So my first suggestion is to grab a ruler and start building a layout. This doesn't have to be extremely structured or extremely thought of. Just a small indication and distribution of the spaces will help you in that. For example, I just mindlessly like to draw a couple squares and rectangles here and there, some circles, going in very softly with the pencil so you can create this little layout you can work on later, and at the same time giving yourself the possibility to erase it and change it as you go. What makes this technique fun is also the chance to challenge yourself and see what you end up with by following these shapes. Sometimes I already start with an idea in mind, and sometimes I just follow the shapes and see what it will fit. And obviously you will have more or less shapes depending on how big your sketchbook is. This is an A5 sketchbook, which in my opinion is the most comfortable size to carry around. This is a question that I get very often, and this is where the layout we just drew comes handy. The blank page is often scary and it kind of translates into our minds that suddenly feel empty and blank. Having a shape already drawn in the page, even the most simple shape, already gives us an indication for something else. Coming up with new characters isn't something that comes randomly and natural from one day to another. It takes patience and training your eyes and your imagination. That's something that you want to nurture. On the long run, it will help you with your art immensely, but remember that to get to that point, you need to go through a bunch of artworks you will not like, bunch of sketchbooks that you will think are useless or maybe not worth looking at, and I want you to stop thinking that way. Each doodle you make is what will take you eventually to your future self and your future skills and who you will become as an artist. When I was at the beginning of my art journey and career, after like maybe only a month of drawing something, I would look back at it and hate it. Why? Because I was in the process of developing my art style, so my vision was very hard to satisfy and it was hard to feel content with what I drew during this learning period, and that's what you need to get past. It's a stage that all artists go through, so you don't have to feel discouraged if you feel that way right now, because as the time passes, you will look back at your older drawings and you'll look at them more fondly than you will imagine, trust me, because without them you wouldn't be where you are right now. And I know my suggestion might sound too simple, but don't overthink that. You can grab references, you can read books, you can have comics in front of you to take inspiration from. You can have my drawings or other artists' drawings to take inspiration from, and let the shapes help you imagine. Another suggestion I can give you is to stick to a theme for each page or for a series of pages, and you can really go from the simplest theme ever like florals or botanicals to something more complex and structured like futuristic designs. Having a theme will put your mind into a niche that you can explore and imagine. You will have a smaller range of ideas, and that will help you get out of that art block. If If your sketchbook paper is thick enough, you can potentially use alcohol markers to create some blobs of color that you can use as a base for portraits and different facial expressions. Now, my paper here isn't exactly alcohol marker friendly, but I will sacrifice the back of this page for the sake of the video. I will probably stick something behind it later on, so it doesn't really matter. Try not to obsess too much over this. You can always make good use of the color bleeding through to do the same thing on the opposite side. How to draw portraits and stylized portraits is one of the most requested things from fellow artists who are starting out. Not just portraits of real people, of course, but also inventing new characters. I am mostly into character design. Creating characters is my favorite thing, and we know how hard it can be to invent something from zero if you don't know where to start, or worse, you're feeling low on inspiration. Drawing a bunch of faces over and over again will help you overcome all of these feelings and also gain confidence with your pencils. For this tutorial, I want you to use whatever pencil you have handy. If you want to be a little bit more precise, you can use a mechanical pencil like me. I use this one with HB lids inside, but as I said, whatever you have is fine. I already covered the basics before, but let's do it again on my sketchbook. So, I try to keep my head structure fairly minimal. I think that extremely structured bases can be very useful to understand where each facial feature needs to be positioned, but when it comes to sketching freely or in general, whenever I start a new drawing, this is what I do. I always start with a circle. The circle is our base, the circle is everything. And I like to define the direction towards which our head will go. To do that, I use a simple cross, very classic. And that's it. From this point, you can add your jaw, and you can really go crazy here for extremely stylized characters. I like to attach it here where the horizontal line ends. As for the rest of the head, sometimes I add this little circle to make it more 3D. It helps you visualize the direction much better and then place the ear later on. So this is all I do for my structure, and I keep my pencil strokes very light so that it's easier to erase if I make a mistake or I change my mind about the shape. At this point, I usually start adding the rest of the facial features, starting with eyes. If you're just starting, you might wonder how you can determine where to put the nose and the mouth without a guide, but you'll see how the eyes will guide you as you go. I'll show you what I mean in a second. I usually keep the first indication of the eyes and features in general very soft at the start, and polish everything once I'm happy with the placement. Now that eyes are in place, we can move on to the nose, and this is what I mean when I say that eyes will determine the other positions. The risk of placing the nose too high or too low are much less since we already have the eyes in place. Same logic follows for the mouth. The only thing to remember is to keep the nose in this vertical axis, and as you can see, I like to use ovals and circles a lot. In general, I prefer smooth and round shapes opposite to squares and rectangles. And after this, our face bases are ready, and you have the chance to ink it if you wish, with a brush pen or whatever it is your favorite inking pen. The one I use is the Pigma FB. I like it because it has a very sharp tip, but it's also soft enough that if you push it, you can variate your strokes. Sometimes I get asked what art supply you should get first, and that goes without saying, it's pencils, of course. If there's a supply you should splurge on, I suggest you to get a nice set of pencils of different softness. For all my life, I've been using the Staedtler Mars Lumograph, and you can find this in different sets going from 4H to 8B even. And having a wide range of pencils will allow you to intensify your sketches and polish them without using a brush pen. So my suggestion is to get a mechanical pencil that you can use for the initial sketch, and along with that you could get a set of these. If you have the chance to buy them singularly, you can get a 2B, 6B and 8B, and these three alone can help you get a nice range of shadows. Learning and getting used to different graphite types will also help you with digital art too in the long run, because you'll learn how each pencil behaves and how your end pressure changes things on paper. To be honest, I'm convinced that most artists who start drawing digitally have a little bit more of a learning curve and difficulties because they didn't have experience with real pencils. This is mandatory, of course, don't get me wrong, but it's a great practice that you should not abandon, even if your main medium is digital like mine. And of course, you could also get a nice set of colored pencils. You've seen me sketch with colored pencils here countless times. The ones I use are actually watercolor pencils, so the lids aren't that soft, they're actually pretty hard, but I prefer it for sketching because I don't want my pencils to be too soft and consume extremely fast. That also allows me to be more precise. So that is another option for you. Sketching with colored pencils will also make your sketchbook pretty, and again, if you're drawing with a theme, it can help enhance it. That's just to say that you don't need fancy art supplies. You just need to invest in a couple pencils and you are good to go. One thing I like to do when I finish my sketches, and it is also a way to kind of doodle freely without thinking too much, is decorating the empty little spaces of the page that you will inevitably have all around your characters sometimes. I also like to fill the backgrounds in black or whatever color you want, and maybe add some stars here and there like I did here. As you can see, I followed the layout box I drew at the beginning. And of course you can do this by following the same theme you choose for the page, if you choose one, by adding little elements that recall that particular theme. This is a way to mindlessly doodle without concentrating too much, which is something we all need, and most importantly, of course, it gives character to the page. It's a way to make it even more yours and of course also pretty to look at. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this inspired you to pick up your sketchbook and start approaching it in a different, creative way. Again, as I said at the beginning, my written commissions are finally open, so if you want more information or you wish to visit my page, you can find it in the description below. Can't wait to get commissions there, so I can also give you an opinion about the website, since I couldn't in my commission guide video and many of you guys asked, so it was time to try it. Let's see what this will bring. Oh, and I've linked all the products I've mentioned on my Amazon storefront. You can find it in the description, so if you're curious about my pencils or papers or whatever you see in my videos, chances are you'll probably find it over there. I hope you guys are doing well, take care, and I'll see you all next Sunday. Bye!